Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror, sci-fi, and thriller film called Hidden. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Living in an underground bunker, Claire is awakened by her daughter, Zoe, who is hiding under the bed after waking up from a nightmare. Zoe calls for Claire because she feels paranoid, mentioning how her doll had a dream that they'd been found from their hiding spot by the Breathers, the mysterious entities that plague the world above the ground. In order to quell Zoe's worries, Claire suggests that they check on Ray, Zoe's father, who is currently keeping watch of their bunker. Ray then assures Zoe that there's nothing to fear and even gives her a full report of his night's watch. But when Zoe mentions the word breather, Claire immediately scolds her. Still, Zoe's not convinced they're safe and asks if she can check on the locks of their bunker door. However, Claire won't allow her because she doesn't want her daughter up close to the surface. Zoe then convinces Claire that she can handle it, confidently reciting the rules of survival. 1. Never be loud. 2. Never lose control. 3. Never open the door. And lastly, 4. Never talk about the breathers. Finally, Claire gives in and lets Zoe check the chains fastened to their hatch, satisfying her as she feels the security of their locks. Inside their bunker, they have a makeshift sun crafted from a lamp and recyclable materials such as cans, which they use to signify the beginning of a brand new day. Ray lets Zoe carve a line on a pillar to keep track of how many days they've been staying underground. And once she does, they realize that they've been there for 301 days already. For their meal, Claire sifts through their food supply to see what they can have. Zoe suggests they should have peaches, but Claire debates that they should eat beans for protein. However, with her father's help, Zoe manages to outsmart and convince her mother that they should eat peaches. Moments later, while Ray and Claire are preoccupied with their malfunctioning water source, Zoe opens the can of peaches and discovers that it's empty. She then calls her parents and informs them that the peaches have been stolen, and even though their door is secure, Claire points out the air duct could have been a possible entryway for a rat. Soon, they realize that they've lost 12 cans of food because of a thieving rodent. So, with no other choice, they eat beans instead. Zoe throws a small tantrum, feeling miserable about their current situation. Ray then tells Zoe they should just be grateful they're still alive because there's still a chance that they might be the only ones left in the world, adding that every single day they've gone through is a miracle. After eating, Ray and Zoe play a makeshift board game modeled after their hometown, Kingsville, trying to relive their old life through imagination. Ray makes Zoe close her eyes as he narrates a scenario of her being able to eat ice cream at an old parlor they used to go to, a way for them to keep their sanity in check and continue having hope. Later on, while Zoe plays cards, Ray and Claire discuss their resource problem. Ray mentions that they may need to go to the surface to look for food, but Claire finds that too dangerous and says that the breathers are still looking for them. Ray tries to convince Claire that he can take on the breathers, but Claire simply won't hear him. So, Ray reminds Claire that they made a promise to always put Zoe first no matter the cost. He also tries to convince Claire to change her point of view, to be a bit more optimistic, but Claire doesn't believe in miracles anymore. Eventually, the two share a moment of intimacy, as Ray reminds his wife that she should still try to live and not just stay alive. While Ray takes a rest, Claire and Zoe spend their time playing their Kingsville board game, and Zoe asks whether it's possible that they're the only ones left. So, Claire becomes a bit more lenient with her rules and lets Zoe peek on the surface using their homemade periscope. Zoe sees no one around the area and can't even find the door to their bunker either. And while they think that they're the only survivors left, Claire tells Zoe that just because there's no one visible doesn't mean that there's no one there. Just like them, there might be other people hiding from the surface. Feeling sad, Zoe says that the breathers must hate them a lot to keep hunting them. So Claire explains that it's not necessarily hate. The breathers are just different from them, and it creates a mutual feeling of fear from both sides. While they're talking, Zoe spots the rat and quickly tells her father about it. Ray then chases it with his pocket knife, but it gets away as he knocks over a lamp, his knife getting stuck on their table. However, before the rodent escapes, Claire smashes it with a wrench. Unfortunately, their happiness from the small victory is immediately cut short as Claire notices the lamp burning the table. Ray tries to put out the fire, but the lamp explodes, and the three panic as they watch their wooden table get enveloped in flames. Ray then attempts to open their water source, but still has trouble opening it, so Claire tries to extinguish the fire with a blanket before Ray douses it with what little amount of water he can accumulate. Unfortunately, by the time they put out the fire, they realize too late that the smoke is going up through the air duct, revealing their location. Because of that, Claire remembers the day it all went down when their family was supposed to go on a swimming trip with their neighbor's kid, Joey. Zoe got sad when Joey canceled their playdate, so Claire and Ray checked on the neighbors and found them trying to leave in a hurry. Confused with the situation, Claire and Ray asked Joey what's going on, and he said that the government mentioned something about a virus. Back in the present, the family worries about the unintended smoke signal they accidentally put out, but they still try to remain optimistic and hope that nobody will see it. They then start to argue as Claire worries about being found, so Ray tells her to calm down and reminds her to stay under control. Unfortunately, Claire sees that the smoke left ash marks above their shelter hatch, making their hiding place visible. Running out of options, Claire says they need to go up to the surface to cover the ash. She then instructs Zoe to lock the door if she hears anyone aside from her or Ray, and although Zoe argues that she wants to help, Claire makes it clear that she won't let her go with them. Moments later, Zoe follows her parents' tracks from within the bunker, seeing the dust fall from their steps above. Worried, she uses the periscope to check on them and the surroundings, and when she spots a moving figure from a distance, she starts to panic and shouts warnings to her parents. Scared, Zoe breaks her mother's rule and starts to go up to the surface to warn Claire and Ray. A pack of deer then runs past them when Zoe finds her parents and informs them of what she saw. And although Ray tries to convince her that there's nothing to be afraid of, Claire points out that the animals are running away from something. Because of that, they hurriedly run back to their shelter, hoping that they weren't seen. However, as Ray reattaches the chains to their hatch, he starts to hear footsteps above. They follow the breather's footsteps above from their bunker, and just when they think they're safe, as the breather walks past their hiding place, Zoe's talking doll string gets caught on a pipe screw and starts making noise. Ray quickly takes the doll and pries it open to break the sound box, but it's already too late, for the breather hears the noise and comes back to force their hatch open. Then, the chains on their hatch start to break, so Claire goes up to secure them. Meanwhile, Ray takes a pipe that they can use to brace the door for the time being. Unfortunately, the breather manages to open the hatch slightly and spots them, so Ray starts hitting it with a pipe to push it back as he angrily locks the door with a steel tube. On the other hand, Claire calms Ray down as he starts to lose his temper. Moments later, the family notices that the breather is still staying above their hatch, and they soon realize that it called for reinforcements. As the breather looks for a way inside the bunker, Ray has a flashback of when they were driving away from their hometown. All the roads were blocked, and they were told to return home because of a government-sanctioned quarantine. Back in the present, a stronger force breaks their door open, and they realize they can no longer hide. The three start to run inside, and Claire sets the divider curtain on fire before Ray helps her block the breather's path with a shelf to buy them some time. Zoe then reminds them that the door is not the only way out, so they hurriedly use the air duct to escape. Claire and Zoe climb out through the air duct, but unfortunately, Ray can't fit. Desperate, he dislocates his shoulder so that he can squeeze his way through, but the breathers pull him down by the ankle. Claire and Zoe can only watch in horror as Ray fights off the breathers, but when they see blood splatter all over the place, they eventually decide to run away. As Claire and Zoe try to escape from the breathers, they arrive back at the quarantine barrier, where a helicopter spots them from a distance and fires a net to catch them. The two scream and plead to be released as they get caught by the breathers, who turn out to be military soldiers wearing gas masks. Then, the men point their rifles at Claire and Zoe as two breathers extract blood from them. Meanwhile, Zoe recalls how military jets dropped bombs on their hometown, making them realize that the government wasn't on their side and that they were trying to eradicate the people. Claire then remembered that there was a fallout shelter in the elementary school, so the three of them ran towards safety before they could get bombed. Thankfully, Claire was able to close the hatch just as a bomb fell. Looking around, they were happy to see that the shelter had enough resources to last them for a while. At the same time, Claire told Ray and Zoe that she cut herself from the shelter door, revealing dark blood dripping from her wound. She mentioned that the virus must be airborne and they're already infected, explaining why the government tried to kill them. Back in the current situation, Claire pleads to be freed, but the soldier tells her to cooperate in answering questions in exchange for help. However, even though Claire and Zoe truthfully answer all of their questions, the soldiers have no intention of helping them as they all aim their guns at the two. Claire then starts to lose control of herself, eager to protect Zoe. As rage fills her, black veins appear on her face and her eyes become red. Then, as the head soldier gestures to shoot Claire and Zoe, an infected Ray appears to save them. He shows symptoms of the virus, displaying inhumane strength and agility as he takes out some of the soldiers. On the other hand, the breathers shoot him repeatedly until they finally subdue him. Because of the distraction, Claire and Zoe manage to escape from the net. Moments later, a turned Claire attacks the remaining soldier but starts reverting to normal when her leg gets injured. Unable to move after a soldier hits her with his gun, a turned Zoe attacks the man and almost kills him to protect her mother, but Claire stops her. Lost in the effects of the virus, Zoe attacks Claire, but she slowly comes to her senses when her mother begs her to calm down and remember their second rule. They then leave the soldier alive, knowing he's already infected too. When they walk back, they spot Ray on the ground, close to death. They spend his remaining moments staying by his side until he breathes his last breath. But they eventually leave him as Claire spots another helicopter from a distance. Then, it isn't long before Claire and Zoe find solace in a nearby sewage system and decide to rest. However, moments later, Zoe wakes up scared, once again saying that her doll had a dream that they were found. They then start to hear footsteps in the distance and see an approaching person holding a flashlight, who turns out to be Joey, Zoe's friend. He leads them further into the sewage system and shows the sewage entrance to a new Kingsville, where the other survivors of their town have been hiding. Then, as the sun indicates a new day, Zoe takes note that they have now survived 302 days, or as Ray liked to call it, miracles.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.